And it's Ken Kreitzer for Sons of the American Legion Radio. We are in Madison, Wisconsin tonight for that's the night before the Army-Wisconsin football game. But today we are at the Wisconsin Veterans Museum and had a great talk from a West Point graduate, Colonel John Hall, to a group of alumni here. Colonel, what was it like speaking to the West Point alumni group tonight?
It was a real honor. I've given numerous talks at this Veterans Museum before, but usually it's from people who are in the Madison community, undergraduates that I bring down here, and to have some fellow West Point alums in the audience in a museum, that means a great deal to me. It's kind of a neat convergence between a couple of different worlds.
Well, you've had a terrific career in the military and the U.S. Army, combining both military service and academic. Tell us a little bit about your career in the U.S. Army.
So, I was a pretty conventional infantry officer for the first few years of it, 101st Airborne Division after Ranger School, 3rd Infantry Division. But then I had the opportunity in the summer of 2001 to go to graduate school at UNC Chapel Hill, followed by a 3-year teaching stint at West Point in the history department, and that really put me on a bit of a different course. And so really from the summer of 2001 to present, I have been a uniformed historian in the U.S. Army the last several years, going back to 2013 as a reservist.
Very good. And one of your points really resonated with me, that when you've taught here at the University of Wisconsin, in one setting you had quite a few veterans in your group. You had students, cadets, and midshipmen, but you also had veterans and veterans from the Vietnam War, and how you brought them into the course. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's a unanticipated, at least to me at first when I showed up here, that I would have so many people in my classroom that had so much rich experience. So when I taught at West Point, in any class that you teach, you're going to have 15, 16 cadets, most of them right out of high school without any actual military experience. When I was a cadet, class 94, we had a number of prep school students who were prior service, and the rest of us all looked up to them as having a great deal of experience that the fellow cadets lacked. What I've experienced here at Wisconsin was, it's as though I have a classroom full of prepsters, or at least prepsters as I understood it when I was a cadet in the 90s, the prior service folks. Here they are enrolled on the GI Bill, continuing their education. I also have a lot of very senior veterans, auditors who are in the classroom, veterans from conflicts like Vietnam and Korea. And so that's a different experience when you have so many people in the classroom who have lived the things that you are teaching about.
And you brought up the concept of the citizen soldier. We work with the New York National Guard on reports on all the work, dedication of their soldiers, members of the U.S. Army and the National Guard. And you brought up the importance of soldiers coming back to their communities and continuing to serve, which we see all the time in the American Legion, for example. In leadership posts. How did you note that, and why is that such an important aspect, the citizen soldier?
Well, as Dan Checky, who's the president of Wisconsin Veterans Museum Foundation, mentioned in his remarks, and a lot of people have commented on this, there is the perception, at least, and I think it's based somewhat on reality, that there is an alienation in American society today between those who serve and those who do not serve. Certain zip codes don't produce many recruits these days, and others produce lots of those recruits. And the ideal of a citizen soldier, going back to the founding of the Republic, really depends upon this idea of people serving their communities, putting on the uniform, picking up the rifle, going off, serving their country, and at some point coming back to serve that same community from which they came. The advantage that the Guard has is those people never really leave, right? I mean, they are the modern day embodiment of the ideal of the citizen soldier. And my remarks tonight dwelled on the fact that many of us who graduated from West Point and made active duty careers of the military become sort of distant over the course of our careers from the communities whence we came, and institutions such as this, the Wisconsin Veterans Museum, from which we're conversing right now, provide an opportunity for career military professionals to re-engage back with the communities that they came from.
Very good. And you demonstrate the academic opportunities that are available in the military. You mentioned the opportunity you had to go to the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And we see, I was explaining to someone recently about the Army War College and the Army Staff College that officers go to as they progress and educational opportunities. Why is that so important? Why is advanced education so important for U.S. Army officers?
It's an investment in the strategic and intellectual capital of the Army. When I was on the faculty at West Point from 2003 to 2006, at one point we had an all-call with the dean of the academic board and all the faculty, and he spoke to us in Thayer Hall, and he mentioned that to most Americans, the product that comes out of West Point every year is 1,000 plus second lieutenants. But he, as the dean, thought that we ought to do a better job of selling the fact that there's another product, a product of equal importance that comes out of West Point every year, and that is the hundreds of Army officers who have gotten graduate degrees from some of the top programs in the nation in various disciplines and leave West Point and go back out to the active Army to be part of that intellectual and strategic capital and go back into the operational force and accede to higher levels of command. And it's one of the reasons why I do think the Army has sort of set a gold standard of how to use education to improve the professional acumen of its senior leaders.
What do you enjoy the most about being both in academics and being a leader, working, continuing to serve in the U.S. Army? What's the highlight for you?
The highlight for me is the hybrid nature of my profession, where I have a foot in two different worlds, and I can shift my center of gravity and be surprised, enlightened, engaged, inspired by new things, and then shift back to that other world and serve as sort of a bridge between the two of them. It's the variety, and it's the realization that these worlds aren't really as distinct as they might seem on their face.
Very good. Colonel John Hall, great to see you. Thank you. It was such a pleasure to be able to hear your remarks to this audience of West Point alumni today at the Wisconsin Veterans Museum. Great to meet you, and thank you for your service to our country.
Likewise, same, and my pleasure.
Thank you. This is Ken Kreitzer for Sons of the American Legion Radio in Madison, Wisconsin.